In this video, we're going to discuss the add movement behavior. And to do so, I'm going to let you in on a project that is a work in progress. This is not a finished game by any stretch. We've got a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I'm going to let you in on a project that we've been working on. This is me, C Forever 08, Necrum, and now Stepscav Chad is going to be doing some of the audio effects, the music, and things like that. But we've formed a team to try to put together an Easter themed game in time for Easter. And that's what this project's all about. But right now it's not ready yet. The only thing I have to show you today is the add movement behavior. And you can see that on the screen now. The bunny is moving along the top of the hedge. And then when he gets to the end of his walk, then he turns around and he goes back the other way, and back and forth he goes. And the idea for the game is simple. It's kind of like Plinko, right? Where you drop an egg and that will just kind of plink, plink, plink down the pegs and into hopefully a basket. Well, in that case, it should uh, deduct score because it landed in the red basket and the guy ate the egg. We can try another one here. Oh, that went straight down. That was perfect. Did you see that? It didn't hit a single peg. So clearly some work to be done on the project. Don't judge too harshly, but you get the idea. The object moves back and forth. And I can imagine a lot of different use cases for this. Not, this is just one example of something you might use it for, but you can imagine like a puzzle game where you've got to get past a particular object that's moving back and forth. You could imagine an arcade game for the same kind of setup. The sky's the limit. Lots of opportunity for this one. Let me show you how it works. All right, now in our case, what we did was we added the add movement behavior to a object that you won't see, but we could find later. And there's actually two of them here, right? There's one for Todd, which is the name of the rabbit, and then there's one for the egg. And that's because we want the egg to be in lockstep with the rabbit, such that when you press the button to release the egg, it'll release where the rabbit is. So those need to be the same. So really, it's both objects are moving back and forth at the same time. You just don't see the egg until you actually release it. Then you have the name of the object here in the object name of whatever it is that you want to move back and forth. Then you have the X, Y, and Z movement amounts, right? So in our case, we're not going to be moving it on the Y-axis. And just as a refresher, the green arrow is your Y-axis. So we're not moving up and down like that. We're not moving it on the red axis, which is X. That would come in and out. That would make sense. We are moving it on the Z-axis. So no movement on X or Y, but there is movement on Z. Now, the amount of movement is just going to depend on your use case. In this case, it's moving 183 units, but again, just depends on how big your scene is and what exactly you're moving. So dial that in accordingly. Same thing with movement speed. The higher the number, the faster the movement. In this case, 0.81 seemed to be the right amount of movement, and I think it looks pretty good, but your mileage may vary. Then you have the reset delay. Now that has to do with when it hits the end of its run, wherever that is, it's going to pause for a second. And then the next checkbox here, reset rotation, allows the object to rotate. So in our case, it makes sense. He's turning around and he's going back the other way. So he needs to rotate so that he's not moonwalking backwards, so that's the idea behind that. But you don't necessarily need that checkbox. If your object was like a ball or a wall or something like that that doesn't have a face to it, then you wouldn't necessarily need to rotate it. And you have active at start checkbox, which in our case makes sense because when we start the game, we want the rabbit to begin moving immediately. Otherwise, if you want to trigger it somehow, maybe with a trigger zone or a switch, you would leave that off and then you can trigger it in some other fashion. And then lastly, we have sound one and sound two. Now, always look at the notes here because these always refer to what each sound does. In our case, sound one will reset, is the reset sound. So in other words, when it hits the end of its run, does it make a sound? I don't have any sounds to play yet because Stepscav Chad is still working on the sound effects. I'm not sure if there's even going to be one for that particular event, but let's suppose you had something like, I don't know, a beam, a metal beam that's going back and forth in between two walls, then you might have a sound when it resets, for example. I'm just making this up as I go along. Then you have the movement sound itself. So maybe we have some footsteps that are playing as he's kind of hopping along across the path, and then he turns around, hop, 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 something like that. So that's just the sound it would play as it's moving. Right? That's the add movement behavior. And there'll be more behavior videos like this coming soon based on this particular project. So there'll be a kind of a mini series, if you will, of behavior videos using this project because we're going to be using a number of them. We've already covered one of them in a previous video, so I'm not going to cover that, but that's the vending behavior. So you can't see it right now, but there is a computer right here, or a little object right here, and it has the vending behavior on it, and that's what's allowing me to drop the egg. So I'm going to play that again, and you can see it says press E to dispense items. So if I press E, then it drops the egg. So that's vending. So it's another use case for vending something, just like a vending machine. So if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link right here. You can go check that out. And it's just kind of a clever way of using a behavior that we already have or already know about in a different way. But that's it. That's it for now. If you enjoyed the video or if you learned anything new, please be sure to click the like button down below. Or if you just even want to support the team and encourage people, I think it goes a long way to encourage us to do things like this. If you're new here, if you just haven't subscribed yet, would love to have you stick around. If you want to see how the game comes together, stick around and I'll have more videos soon. And lastly, if you'd like a notification for when those videos are ready, just click the bell icon and that'll let you know when that video has come out. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. I always appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey, don't forget there's a written guide for every behavior, including ones I haven't yet covered on this channel. And if you want to learn some more, why don't you check out this video next.